of identity, right? And that is something that's also so very important. Because, I listen to a lot of these white guys like Boma Jordan Peterson and a couple of the other controversial ones when they talk about how black people aren't making it they make it basically sound like we're just being out-competed because we're not trying hard enough. And I'm like, these people are totally not. They're totally not accountable.
Or they say stuff like that?
They want to put it in those words, but it comes across as that's basically it, is we're being out-competed because we're not trying hard enough, or we don't have what it takes to compete. And I'm like, I disagree with that from my gut, bro. It's like what they're not accounting for is the psychology of oppression. Like they're talking like people who have never been oppressed, and I'm surprised over they haven't done more studies as to what happens to a people that was once enslaved. How long does it take before the trauma of that enslavement actually leaves them? You know what I mean? Because even like the word slave comes from Slav. So where are the records from Europe where Europeans were enslaving other Europeans? How long did it take for the formerly oppressed Europeans to get free, to be finally mentally healthy? Because another thing also that I think is also a factor that comes through from white supremacy is we've taken in so much white supremacy that we actually hate ourselves in the sense that, or even if you don't hate yourself, you just don't feel like you deserve better. So if you have if you're in poor mental health, you don't feel like your mental health matters. So why am I trying to get healed? Like I'm just another black bastard, and all of us have problems. I have my grandfather had problems, my father had problems, so I'm just following the tradition. You know what I mean? But when we actually taking that whole concept of Black Lives Matter seriously, then it means our mental health also matters, which means if the white scholars are not going to give us the details, then we must look for them. Or start speaking about it as a matter of fact. Or it took the Slavic people this many years for them to get, because especially if you use European examples, then you show them what it's not even about black versus a white. It's about oppression and slavery. Or those same white people, they were as white as you, but after you enslave them, this is how they struggled, and this is how long they struggled. And then you realize, it's all about the psychology. It was never about our race. Some people have even tried to go as far as to say, all the lowest IQs, like the people with the lowest IQs are all African. They went and looked at all the IQ scores from around the world, and they found the lowest ones in Africa. And to me, there's an obvious reason for that. Wherever there's war, where are people developing their minds, fam?
But I actually want to counter that because I just actually saw on YouTube not very long ago, actually, that the person with the highest IQ on earth at the moment is a young black boy.
Yeah, but that's one person. On the average, when they do their IQ tests, as Africans apparently we score lower. But this is what I'm saying is
yeah, it's definitely a very narrow-minded way to look at stuff to account for all of these.
I feel like
also it's not even just like the oppression of the past but it's also like what's currently happening, who has access to you might find that someone has the potential to have an incredibly high IQ, but they don't have access to
those people
to any of those things that can feed their mind, to allow them
to
even
express those people,
their inborn
the actual IQ level. But even those people say you can actually bring a person's IQ down by a lack of proper training. And that's what I think, that's all that's been happening with us. It's not that somehow genetically we have lower IQs. I just think we've been living in such fucked up conditions that we haven't had the opportunity to develop our IQs. You know what I'm saying? Because look at kids like you and me, for instance, when given the opportunity, you know what I mean? Any black child given the opportunity, you become fluent in multiple languages, right? You're able to exist in different worlds, right? You and I can go to Marabastad and be as black as black. We're just as comfortable being at a branch in Centurion or wherever, or Moikloof or wherever. You know what I'm saying? So, it shows our brains were allowed to expand. We're able to take on lots of different new information and make it work for us. Allowed to explore different parts of society, right? And be able to navigate through all of those. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes also IQ is a problem in the sense that it doesn't account for things like that. For instance, you know what I'm saying? Because for instance, how many South African kids do you know that are not multilingual? and you want to claim our IQ.
Almost none. Yeah.
You want to claim our IQ is low.
Almost none.
So it shows you it's not about the IQ. It's about what is being developed. Like, and it comes back to the same thing. Well, because for the longest time, our country, the government, even ourselves, we really genuinely didn't think that our lives mattered. So what are you doing developing your brain for? Why are you teaching kids that they can run the world, that they can rule the world? Because they can't. They're still black. So why, like, I get a Hitler put that in his book, or like, yeah, teaching a black person to read is a waste of an education.
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier around like how we use music and sorry to cut this like
no, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was listening to Ringo Madringo's earlier, like Kum.
Is that were you playing that? Bruh, I've never heard so much Ringo in years.
Like that. Like he has a way. Like, I can't understand Xhosa, guys. Like I'm not like proper like fluent, right? I know just the basics, you know, like the basics that are like that you can understand, you know, even in Zulu, right? But that song, Kum Na Kum, it just made me feel things like, oh, this guy, you know? And I really appreciated how, you know, us tapping into like what we're naturally good at. I know that we're not like really encouraged in most environments to follow our dreams because we work in this, we live in this world where it's just like, yeah, it's like a chase for money, for fast things, you know. But focusing on things that you're really good at, really like it brings out like something different in you, you know, and you're able to excel and succeed in that, you know. And if you're staying in your own lane, right, or like surrounded by like what you were saying earlier, be around, you know, not being surrounded by assholes. Yeah, if you are surrounded by a community of people that are passionate about those same things, you guys are able to uplift one another and actually, you know, get out of whatever it is depressive state that you were in because of where you come from, you know. So I think tapping into what you're naturally good at is something that can definitely help you, or what you're passionate about, exploring that further, because now we live in a world where there's like more opportunity for you to try things, you know. Now you can go anyway. In the past, we were like really like afraid. Yeah,
you're stuck to the township that you were born in, basically. You only need to go to work for the white people and you come back to the same township.
So now you can go and live somewhere.
Live with the white people if you want.
You know? And bring the white people to you. They must now understand your culture in the way that you want to kind of put it out there. So.
And that's another thing. That's another reason I like specifically doubt that whole thing how black people have lower IQs is even the black people that white people know are the ones that have adapted to their culture and to their lifestyle. Like if we not adapted to their culture and to their lifestyle, white people would know nothing about us. Nothing. Because and if we had to be racist, we'd be like, because they are incapable of learning how to be in a part of multiple communities like us. So we could flip it on them and be like, why can you only speak one language?
Exactly.
Why are you so ignorant? What's wrong with your IQ? How come you can only talk one language? Like
and I think that says something.
And how come you can only live in your suburb? Why can't you go to the township? Why do you live such a trapped life?